Hello there and welcome to Ask a Lawyer here on CP24. John Scholes joining you once again momentarily on your screen. Lior Samfiru, employment lawyer from EmploymentLawyer.ca. We always kick off every show with contact information because sometimes you want to get a hold of Lior and his team right away when the show is over or any other time. So here's how that works. Phone number first, 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca. We'll give you some more contact information throughout the show. We do a ton of things. We get the emails, we get to your questions, we get the phone calls from our radio show, and we always have a main topic. This week, 3 things to do if you lose your job. We'll get to that in just a bit, of course, but we always kick off the show, Lior, with the week that was, our case of the day, pal. What do you got to chat about on the show today? What's up?
Hey, Johnny, great to be here, of course. Employment law, such an important topic, and I don't just say that because that's what I do for a living. I say that because we all have jobs. Every one of us has a job. Every one of us is either working, looking for work, planning to work. So guess what? Employment law is relevant to all of us. There's not a person out there that's within working age that shouldn't care about employment law. You have rights, you have entitlements, there's things that you know, there's things that you can do to increase your job security, there's things that you can do to be treated better at work, there's things that you can do to deal with problem bosses. All those things are covered under the rubric of employment law. And on this show, we tell you those things, we inform you, we educate you, we give you the power so that if you're facing a bad workplace problem, you know what to do. Wrongful dismissal, constructive dismissal, human rights violation, changes to your job, your pay. There's things that you could do, and we talk about that. But as John said, beyond just the 30 minutes of this show, easy. You can reach me in the office, phone or email. We'll give you that contact information throughout the show. So easy to reach out. But now that we know what we want to do and why we're here, let's get to doing it. Let me tell you about a situation that came across on my desk. I spoke with a gentleman that had worked for the same company for about 11 years. Well, about 6 months ago, he received a notice from his employer that the client that they're working for is no longer going to need them, and they told him that 6 months later they may be out of a job, but that the company is going to try to find him another role. So, employee, we're telling you that this particular job is going to end, but we're going to be working with you over the next 6 months to find another role. Well, that's what happened. Over the next 6 months, there were various discussions about other roles, but they couldn't eventually find or agree to another job for him. So at the end of the 6 months, he was gone. And he asked them, okay, well, do I get severance? They said, well, no, because we gave you notice 6 months earlier, you're going to lose your job. So we get credit for that 6 months. He called me and he wanted to understand, does the company get credit for the notice they gave him? Well, the answer is absolutely not. The reason the company doesn't get credit is because they weren't clear that he's losing his job. They said, well, your job may end, but it may not. We're going to try to find you another position. Let's see what happens. That's what they told him. In order to get notice of termination, and for that notice to be effective, the notice has to be clear, it has to be unequivocal. There should be no doubt in the employee's mind that their job is coming to an end. In this case, he didn't know. They didn't tell him. They said maybe, and guess what? Maybe is not good enough. So he didn't get notice, therefore he's owed severance. For him, he's probably owed easily a year's severance. So by the way, even if they had given him proper notice, it wouldn't have been enough, but they didn't give him notice. The message, the lesson here for everyone is this. If a company gives you notice, advance notice of termination, for that notice to be effective, there can be no doubt in your mind that your job is coming to an end on a specific day. If that is not clear, if that is not obvious, then you have not received notice.
Does it have to be in writing as well, Lior? Can it be verbal with a definitive date?
It has to be in writing. Notice has to be in writing, addressed to the employee specifically, and given to him. It's not enough to say, well, we posted it somewhere, you should have seen it. It has to be given to the employee in writing, otherwise, guess what? It doesn't count.
In this case, it was 6 months. Did they have to allow him some time to go out and job hunt? Because it's coming to an end, or it should have.
So it's in the company's interest to have the employee look for work because that may mean less severance that has to be paid. But legally, an employer is not required to give an employee time off work to look for jobs. And if an employee did not get time off, and because of that, it's harder to find another job, that's yet another reason as to why that employee may be owed even more severance than they would have otherwise received.
More information and contact, always go to EmploymentLawyer.ca. It's a good website to use. You'll also be able to find a radio station in your market that carries our show here locally. GTA Sundays, 1 p.m. Employment Law Show on News Talk 1010. Get a lot of phone calls on the show, of course. And as you know, if you've watched this before, we play them back here. We talk about them, Lior. Let's get to phone call number one. Listen up.
So I'm a branch manager for a bank. They've just said the branch is going to be shut down permanently. They said no other branch management positions or positions that are of my level. They're making me work, obviously, till the branch is shut down in a month, but they're not going to give me my severance, and they're expecting me to keep working and all that stuff. Wondering what my rights are here. I've been a 15-year employee. Just wondering what I'm expecting for severance.
Well, this dovetails nicely from the issue that we were talking about. So this individual received a month's notice. The company told them, you're out of a job in a month. In the meantime, you continue working. Now, they're allowed to do that, and that month does count towards severance. But guess what? He's owed much more severance than 1 month. So the question, of course, becomes, after these 15 years, how much severance he's owed? We're going to do what we like to do and show you how to calculate it. We're going to go to PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca and use the severance calculator tool, which is free and anonymous. Let's use that right now and see what he gets. So he's a 52-year individual, 52 years of age individual. He is in a branch manager, 15 years of employment. Company gave him 1 month notice. No. You see right there, he's owed 16 to 20 months severance. 16 to 20 months. Now that 1 month does count towards that, but he's owed a lot more severance. Same with you at home. You can calculate your severance for you, for your friends, or if you're just curious, by using the severance calculator at PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca.
All right, Lior, good start. Got to get into our first break. On the other side, into our main topic, 3 things you got to do if you lose your job. We'll cover that as we continue. Just getting warmed up here on Ask a Lawyer on CP24. Stay with us.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
Alrighty, welcome back. This is Ask a Lawyer, CP24. I'm John Scholes. Dan on your screen as well momentarily. Lior Samfiru, welcoming you back as well. And we always get to main topic, which we will momentarily. But I want to tell you how to get a hold of Lior and his team on your own time at your convenience. Phone number, let's start there, 1-855-821-5900. Email ask@employmentlawyer.ca and scan that QR code as well. Main topic, 3 things you got to do if you lose your job, Lior. It is that time of the show. Number 1, you got to secure all those essential documents. You know, all that paperwork you never thought you'd need and you stash it away somewhere, employment contracts, bonus plans, all that stuff. You got to keep it and get it squared away, yeah?
Man, oh man, John, so important to have these documents. We'll need to review them. Your employment agreement, job offer letters, and maybe there's more than one. Maybe you signed one when you started and you signed other ones over the course of the years. We need those documents. That may help us determine how much severance you're owed and other restrictions that there may be. Anything else like a bonus plan, commission plan. If you were disciplined before, maybe there's a performance improvement plan or a warning. Those can help us as well. We want to have all these documents. Now, all that does is it means that when you're let go and then we speak to assess your entitlements, we have all the information. We can properly assess what you're owed. Now, if you don't have these documents, so you lost your job and like, man, I wish I had kept a copy of my bonus plan or my employment agreement. I don't have it. Ask for a copy. Your employer in most cases is not going to have a problem giving it to you. Now, if you ask and they won't, no issue. We'll deal with it still. Call me either way. But yes, you want to prepare for it even now. Make sure you have copies of these documents in case at some point you're let go. You'll be glad that you did.
Second thing you got to do, Lior, if you lose that job, is apply for EI immediately, employment insurance.
So a lot of people often ask me, when do I apply for EI? Because I may get severance, I'm negotiating, I'm thinking about it, I haven't gotten all the paperwork. Apply for EI as soon as possible. There are several reasons for that. Number 1 is if you wait, okay? There are time limits. If you wait to apply for EI, you may run out of time, and then there may be penalties, and you may not even be able to get EI, so you don't want that. The second thing is you don't start getting EI right away. There's a waiting period. So the sooner you can apply for EI, the sooner you can get paid. Now, even if you get severance later on, that gets adjusted. But really important, apply for EI. You've paid into EI all these years. You want to get paid that money. It's your money that you're legally owed. So if you lost your job, you get your record of employment, you apply for EI right away, no matter what.
All right, Lior, third thing you got to do, we talk about this regularly on the show anyway, and that is don't do anything, don't sign anything until you get some legal advice.
Man, oh man, that is the key here. If you lose your job, chances are your employer is going to put across the table a piece of paper for you to sign, a termination letter, a severance offer, and they're going to give you a deadline. And they're going to say, man, you better sign this by Friday. Don't do it. Do not do that. It's a great likelihood, 90% plus chance, that whatever you've been offered is less than what you are owed. And once you sign that piece of paper, you've given up your rights. Don't worry about that deadline. You have up to 2 years to pursue your entitlement. So that deadline is a pressure tactic. If you lost your job, don't sign anything. Call me. Okay, let's sit down, let's review what you're owed, and let's get you what you're owed. John, you know this, every single week I speak with people that contact me after they sign that severance offer because they know they've made a mistake now, they know they're owed more, and I can help them. Please don't have that happen to you. If you or someone that you know lost your job, don't have them sign anything. Have them call me. If you don't like me, no worries, call someone else. But speak to an employment lawyer. Do the right thing before you sign anything.
All right, Lior, let's move on to another phone call. Again, reminder, anytime you want to catch one of our radio shows right here locally, GTA Sundays, 1 p.m. News Talk 1010. Here comes phone call number 2. Lior, listen up.
I've been terminated. I was in a job where I had a salary, a base salary, and about a 15% commission on top of my salary. Now, my severance, but they came back to say, no, the severance is going to be based on your salary because we're not going to be paying out incentives going forward.
Doesn't work that way. Remember, generally speaking, your severance has to be based on your total compensation, all components of your compensation. So salary, bonus, benefits, commissions, pension contributions, car allowance. I could keep going on. I think you get the idea. It's all components of compensation, not just your salary, okay? So because of that, the company can't avoid paying what you're owed. And they can't say we weren't going to pay commissions moving forward anyway. They wouldn't have been allowed to do that. So a company doesn't get to make those decisions. Severance should include all components of your compensation, everything. And now she's asking about what should be included. The first question, of course, is to determine the number of months that she's owed. Chances are even the number of months is more than what she's been offered. So yet another reason to make sure you call before you sign anything. It's not just your salary. It's not just your salary and benefits. It's all components of your compensation.
All right, let's take a short pause, Lior. When we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit. The other half, of course, of what the firm does, disability law. We're going to talk to our good pal James Fireman on the other side, get into that, give you some contact information as well. So stick around. More Ask a Lawyer is on the way on CP24.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
And welcome back to Ask a Lawyer here on CP24. Switching gears momentarily, going to get to James Fireman, who covers the disability portion of the law firm. And to reach out to James, I'll give you the number right there and the email, 1-855-821-5900, ask@disabilityrights.ca. James, good to have you back again this week, pal. You want to talk about what it is you do and a little bit of a story you have prepped for this week. Go ahead.
Sure. So most people are familiar with the idea of long-term disability benefits. And if you have an employment benefits package through work, then you probably have coverage for long-term disability benefits, but not a lot of people really understand what's involved in it because they don't have to until they have a physical issue or cognitive issue or mental health issue that's preventing them from being able to work. And oftentimes when that happens, they discover that the process is not so straightforward. It can be really complicated. It can be frustrating. It can be really unfair because insurance companies do what insurance companies do. So let me give you an example of a time when someone who watched our show gave us a call because they were in exactly this situation. So Victor is a financial planner who lives in Alberta. He had brain cancer, and thankfully he was able to make a full recovery after surgery. He almost died. And he had a really difficult recovery process, so much so that he started suffering from all kinds of mental health issues and was diagnosed with PTSD. And so he was clearly disabled from work, and his insurance company did not fight him on that, at least initially, as sometimes happens, especially when we're talking about more serious issues. But as time went on, his insurer realized that he probably wasn't ever going to fully recover, and they started looking for ways that they could get him off of benefits. And so what did they do? They hired an investigator to follow him around. They followed him around for 4 days, really didn't find much of anything. Another 4 days, nothing. 16 days in total. What they found is he was able to drive, which wasn't anything new. He was able to go to medical appointments. He was able to do some of his daily activities. He would visit with family and friends at times. And then his insurance company wrote him a letter saying, well, we've conducted surveillance and we've seen you doing all of these activities, and that's not consistent with someone who is disabled from being able to work, and we're terminating your benefits. And they present it in a way that's really scary, in a way that makes it look like you've done something wrong by living your life. But the reality is that Victor was in no condition to be able to work as a financial planner, frankly, in any position. But his insurance company cut him off. Thankfully, he saw our show and gave me a call. And we were able to resolve his claim for nearly 7 figures. Nearly 7 figures. His insurance company was saying he's not entitled to benefits, but when he brought litigation, they changed their tune very quickly. And the reality is that people can see these insurance company tactics and be intimidated by them when they don't have the support of a lawyer that knows the process, that understands long-term disability litigation. But once that is part of the litigation process, once the insurance company recognizes that they're not going to be able to dictate the terms, they change their tune very quickly.
Good stuff, James. I want to move over to a question this week. It's an audio question, so listen up and we'll get answering. Here we go.
Can you qualify for long-term disability benefits if you're injured in a car accident?
It's a good question.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, in many cases, you really have to. So long-term disability is really only going to be covering the income component of whatever you might be entitled to. So if you're in a car accident, there's all sorts of things that you might be entitled to, including compensation for your pain and suffering, compensation for your medical care, and compensation for your income. But if you have long-term disability benefits, you need to apply for that as well. It can result in a larger overall claim. And in any case, if you don't claim for it, it could be a problem in the motor vehicle litigation. And the good news is this. At Severe Tumarkin, we also practice in personal injury law, which includes motor vehicle claims and slip and falls as well. And it's really important that if you have both kinds of claims, if you have a motor vehicle claim and you have a long-term disability policy, you really want to make sure that you have a lawyer that's able to respond to both at the same time, because it can be very complicated dealing with both of these issues.
James, as always, appreciate you stopping by the show. You're good to give us that information every week. You can always reach out to James. I'll give you the contact information on the other side of the break. Lior's back in here, and we'll continue more Ask a Lawyer on CP24. Stay with us.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
Okay, welcome back to Ask a Lawyer here on CP24. Lior Samfiru is back. Here's the contact information. Anytime if you get a hold of Lior and his team, always make that phone call. Back it up with that email address, 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Use the QR code there as well. And we will join you hopefully this coming weekend on News Talk 1010 locally here in the GTA for our 1-hour radio show. Feel free to call into the show. You'll have the number all the way through the hour to call us and get on air and ask your questions. In that regard, Lior, let's get to one more phone call to close out the show from the radio show, and it goes just like this. Listen up.
I just recently found out that our plan is shutting down, and I'm on long-term disability. Now, would I be entitled to a severance package? Been there 33 years.
3 years, nice.
Long time. So let's be clear. The time that you spend off on a disability leave counts towards your seniority and is then used to calculate your severance. So if you've been working for 30 years and then you're off on disability for 3 years, you're now a 33-year employee, and that is how many years you are going to be used. It's going to be used to calculate your severance. So what we need to do, of course, is go back to our severance calculator tool. You'll find that at pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Let's use that and let's see how much he's owed, even though he's been off on a disability leave. So he's a production worker at the age of 61, been there a total of 33 years, including time on disability. Severance that he's owed is up to 24 months pay. You see that right at the bottom, 2 years pay. So now he knows, and by the way, you at home, if you're off work, you're on a disability leave, that time counts, and you can always use the severance calculator for free and anonymously at pocketemploymentlawyer.ca.
Yeah, 33 years is kind of a no-brainer when it comes to that 24 months for sure, Lior. Good stuff. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on the show. You can always reach out to Lior following the show and going forward. I'll give you the phone number one more time, 1-855-821-5900. It's ask@employmentlawyer.ca. Pocketemploymentlawyer.ca is where you'll find that calculator that Lior knows in his head, but you can use the real thing. It takes about 30 seconds anytime you want to use that. And any other information, cp24.com/askalawyer. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next week right back here.